All right, welcome back to the Soulful Rich Bitch Show. You guys, I am so excited for this episode today and moving forward. We have got our operations manager and might I say, fellow freedom focused projector. Those of you who know, you know, and coach Kevin Shin with me. I have brought Kevin on for many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is to turn this podcast into a conversation, to invite fresh perspectives and curiosity, to pull more of the gold out of me and to allow me to feel invited to share more and to dive even deeper so that you can get the insight that you need to create the business and the life of your dreams. So today is our first episode of having Kevin join me here. We have so much to share and so much to catch up on, and I'm sure you guys will get to know our story here soon. But outside of a couple conversations in Voxer and kind of workshopping operations management details, we haven't had a full catch up. So I'm excited to see where today goes.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Thank you so much for having me, Candace.
Yes.
Thanks for having me, everybody. Everybody's watching.
Yeah.
I am Candace's self-proclaimed number one client,
Yes.
fellow
Absolutely.
projector. And yeah, I mean, Candace's zone of genius has always just been like the energetics, the flow, letting it really just riff on things that matter to her, that she's passionate about, that she's an expert on. And she was like, if you could make this into a conversation where we can just go back and forth instead of me talking at my screen for an hour, I think that would be really cool for the audience. And I agreed with her completely. So here we are today.
Here we are. Let us in a little bit more too, because you're not just our operations. What did I say in Boxer the one time? Our the king of systems.
I love that.
Um,
Yeah.
you
I
were
think it was I told Haley too. That's my girlfriend.
yes.
Um I think it was like king of efficiency or something like
There we
that. And I
go.
was like, "Oh, I feel so seen."
He truly holds this like, yes, anyways, there's so much to this. But let us know what you're doing behind the scenes because you are, like I said, also a coach. We have had a past of creating some serious magic for you in your business, and now you've kind of got another venture on the go. And I want to hear, let us in just a little bit where they can come check you out, where they can get a feel for you, and obviously connect with you here on the podcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram as Kevin Connects, Kevin dot Connects, Kevin
We'll put it
Connects.
below.
Cool. Um, and yeah, so I was in the business coaching space for a minute when the bubble burst, like mid-pandemic, when everyone's like, "Oh my God, we're
Yeah.
this isn't going to end. Like maybe I should start an online business."
Yeah.
And it was great. I loved it. I love helping people. At the end of the day, I always say it doesn't really matter what I'm helping with or what I'm coaching on. I just love seeing people grow and help facilitating that process. But
Hmm.
after that bubble kind of burst and I realized like, I love marketing, but maybe I don't want to teach marketing to everybody. And I love systems, but maybe I don't want to be the one to like install these in every one of my clients' businesses. I moved into what I am most passionate about in this world, which is relationships, human connection. And so now I run a business in that space. And then as far as like operation management for Candace, it's whatever she needs, whatever can, again, free up her mental and energetic bandwidth to go forward full force with what it is that she's most focused on in the moment. So this looks like, you know, scheduling content, drafting content,
Hmm.
community participation and engagement and support, redesigning of funnel structures just to make sure that you guys always have the absolute most up-to-date techniques as far as marketing goes. Like I said, anything that I can do to keep her plate clear and keep the food on the table delicious, I'm in the kitchen doing it.
He's cooking, guys. I sent a Voxer was it yesterday or the day before? And I was like, oh, like my brain feels so alive and nourished because I'm not having to think about every component. And you guys, I want to share because you guys know, those that listen regularly at least, we've had Mila for years. We had Wendy on the team for a little while there, and that was just, yeah, there was like a mutual conversation there where timing wasn't everything. And we brought Kevin on, and I was like, this, I knew exactly what I was looking for and I knew why and I knew what that would do for me. And I think this is a conversation worth having and doesn't have to be today, but where outsourcing and really truly making aligned decisions from a place of your vision and your well-being when you're in business is a must. Having Kevin come on and take care of tasks that I actually don't need to be doing and that we have, copy for, and we have our pillars and we have all of our foundations established and they've brought us to seven figures. So it's the whole point of building something solid is that it's sustainable and it's really easy to then duplicate. So having Kevin come in and really support where there's so much that's going to be taking place between now and the new year that I'm so excited for us to be able to slowly let them in on of what we are doing for your results and your experience. But just imagine if I was trying to do all of this alone with no team at all, right? And so this is just an invitation to how much freedom is in being a resourced and wealthy individual. And that always starts in your mind. It always starts in your belief system and what you think about yourself, what you think is possible for your future. So I hope that, going forward, our conversations here, our partnership here, just what we're really truly pulling the curtain back on and letting you in reminds you of that, keeps you centered, and hopefully encourages you to make some wealthy decisions for your future, for your lifestyle, and for the well-being of your mission.
Freedom focus.
Freedom focused. I love it.
I think that's a pretty good jump off point too, just because,
Mm.
you have how many episodes do you think you have on this podcast?
Ooh,
Quite
isn't
a
that
few.
bad? Everyone numbers their episodes, you guys. Will you notice? I don't number them. I let's go and say maybe 150, 200
There's
episodes.
quite a few. Wow, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I didn't even scroll back that far, but there's quite
Oh
a
yeah.
few. But I think A, since this is my first episode on the podcast, and
Yes.
B, since it's always good to kind of have the new season premiere every now and then, like if we just start from the top in terms of like that, like freedom for like what is
Wow.
a freedom focused business for you
Mm,
and why is it so important for people?
yeah. Well, and I think let's bring in, oh, yes, the bio individuality piece. Let's start there because you and I even, we can speak on this in many different ways.
What's
Freedom,
bio individuality? Let's break it all down.
let's really start in the beginning. We all have our own view of what freedom means for us. We have our own perspective, our own vision of, oh my gosh, I would love more freedom so that I blank. Oh my gosh, freedom to me would feel like blank. And it's always so different. And I love that when I have the first call with the clients and we're, really actually getting clear on what's going on, what we need to do, what we need to shift, what we need to let go of or add. I'm like, what do you want? How do you want it? And what will it mean for you? And to me, that's your pillars of freedom. That's
Mm,
what's going to help you feel free, supported, safe, alive, right? On purpose, impactful, fulfilled. And so for me, it always came down to right away quality of life, quality of life,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
quality. I wanted to have quality moments. I'm not a big things person. I would love to have high quality things and less of them. I would love high quality memories over things. Everything was about how I felt no matter what I was doing and who I was with. And as a mother in my shoes, that was about having the freedom to be done my work days by 2 o'clock, right? And to have time to
Totally.
recenter myself before I go pick them up and play the most important role in the world and feel really good about that. And then obviously income plays a big role. And it's not that money was everything to me, but I knew at a really, really young age. I think, Kevin, you know a little bit of my story, but I
Tell
knew
us the story.
so I knew that I wanted to be a business owner and I knew that I wanted to make a lot of money. That was never a doubt. So my mom gave me a letter that I wrote when I was in grade 5. They had us write a letter about our future to our 18-year-old self. And I owned a hair salon. So for those of you that have listened at all, in this letter, I was talking about the salon that I owned, the children that I had, how I would go running because I liked being active, horseback riding, running, all the things when I was really young. And I just went on about that. Like life is so fun. Like that's all I cared about. being free, having fun, having my own business, getting to make my own rules, and apparently having somewhat of a athletic lifestyle. And fast forward, I was 19 when I opened my salon and I ran that for, almost 8 years until my shoulders were done. And I was given the ultimatum of, have surgery on both your shoulders while having a baby at home or close the
Whoa.
doors. Yeah. So that was a journey I absolutely loved. I miss my hair days still to this day. I'll kind of like reminisce and just smile because I had the best clients. And within 9 months, I had scaled to six figures in that business. I closed the doors to new clients and it just kept growing.
Let's go.
Um, yeah. So I did that while Braden was really young. Well, right before I start, well, obviously before I had Braden, because I was 19 when I started, and I had Braden at 22, which is also so wild.
That is great. Like
And
how long ago that was is wild.
crazy. Like I'm gonna have a 10-year-old. Oh,
That's
that
a
gives me
trip.
goosebumps.
He's
So,
he's about to be as old as you were when you wrote that letter.
yes. And like he journals now and we talk about things and it's so cool to hear him dream, right? And what
Mhm.
I love so much about, let's tie this back to freedom. My kids have never seen me clock in for somebody. My
Totally.
kids have never heard me say, Mommy has to go to work now.
Totally.
Mommy can't go because she's at work or she has to work. Like work has never came before my kids,
Hmm.
ever. And I grew up with a single mom who worked a lot, a lot, a lot. There were periods where like my stepdad was the main one raising us because she was working so much.
Wow.
And that obviously played a big role on what I wanted to be as a mom and what I wanted to represent for them and what I was choosing to normalize for them. So that's kind of where that whole entrepreneurial part started. My dad actually retired. He's a lot older than my mom, and he retired and ended up starting his own business. And I think he was 50. He might have been 50. I don't know the exact number. It would be around 50.
When he started the
And
business.
when he started the business and took it right off, he's now actually sold the company and very happily retired, living his best life, going to yoga and jiu-jitsu every morning with his wife.
Shout out.
And we love this for him. But he dove into Think and Grow Rich. And when I was
Yeah,
eight,
yeah.
18, I have it on my bookshelf, the original Think and Grow Rich book. He handed it to me, along with, there was another one. I haven't read that one. But that's when everything started. Like I didn't know I was manifesting. I didn't know that I was becoming conscious of my frequency and like my
Hmm.
thoughts at the time, but I was. And
Totally.
I think it's not that either my parents were crazy supporters or discouraged me either. They were
Hmm.
just kind of along for my ride. And I think that helped so much was kind of having a neutral place, um, and being able to, I don't know, just feel like follow my own lead, follow my own heart, follow my own pulls.
Wow, yeah.
And when I closed the salon, I was like, WTF am I doing? Like, what's next? Right? I was pregnant with Callie when I knew that I had to make peace with things. And I wasn't quite ready and I really fought it. And I went and got certified in holistic nutrition and mindfulness. And I kind of just used this time of really slowing down. I was working maybe 5 hours a week. Had Brayden, pregnant with Callie, and it's like, I'm just gonna keep educating myself in the areas that I love. I read a bunch of real estate books. I was all over the place because I am really multi-passionate. And I just kind of continued to follow where my desires led me. And I was so fascinated by this coaching space. I was so
Hmm.
fascinated by watching people share their lives and what that got to mean for others. And I kind of just kept sharing and showing up. And then I reached a point where I was like, okay, I want to take this serious. How cool would it be if I could just make, $2,000 to $5,000 a month from
Hmm.
this
Yeah.
social media thing?
That's
That's
where
what
it
I
all
thought.
starts.
That's where, right, where it all starts. And then you realize how fun it is. So that was where it all started for me. And so much of my personal, mental, and spiritual development took place, as you totally get it.
Absolutely.
So much. That's where, as one of my best friends will call it, boundaries Candace was developed. That's
Hmm.
where that there's just so much of who I am now that was developed in those early seasons of coming online. Because entrepreneurship, business development, marketing, none of that was new to me.
Hmm.
But suddenly showcasing who I am in my life for all of the internet in the world to see at any given time was a stretch. And working through the confusion and just the misunderstanding that most of the people in my life had, right? I had to be okay. I've shared this so many times, being misunderstood. And I had to
Yeah.
become really unapologetic about it. So that season, I am so grateful for, now my co-parent. I'm sure we'll go there, but but his support in that season, right? Like I will say that until I'm blue in the face that without some sort of support, somebody in your corner,
Mm.
it would have felt really, I couldn't imagine. I could not imagine. So no matter what season my clients are in, I think that's what I love most about what I do is I'm in it with them and there's no feeling alone. Because he really did help me in that transition. He was really supportive and really helped me just stay on path with my vision, my desires, what I wanted. And, his line was, that's a them problem. Who cares? That's a
Mm.
them problem. So that was, yeah, a really stretchy but heart-opening season where I started to really just choose the life I actually wanted.
Hell yeah. And that's a
Hmm.
beautiful story. I mean, I didn't even know some of that stuff about you too. And I'm already seeing, hopefully you guys are seeing too, like why I'm here because Candace just pops off, drops like 40 different gems. I'm sure you're on the edge of your seat with some of these, like, wait, talk more about that, talk more about that. And so now it's my
Hmm.
job. Let's bring it back. Let's go deeper into some of those
Right.
things that they need to hear more of. So it sounds like you're saying that it all
Hmm.
started with the vision. It sounds like that's the most
Always.
important thing. Like if you are out here and all you want is to hit a certain dollar amount, then that's not really going to create the visceral
No.
reality. Like it's not going to create the imagination that then creates the work to create the visceral reality
Hmm.
without having that vision. And so it's like you at age 10 had that vision. It wasn't even like a conscious thing. You were just like, yep, this is the way my life is going to be. But then you revisit it at 19 and something that you've told me throughout mentorship is you revisit that every single day, huh?
Every damn day.
So like what is that process of revisiting it look like? Or maybe even, we're in the business of taking a step backwards to paint the whole picture. But like, what does it look like when you're first drafting the vision? What does it
Mhm.
look like to revisit it every day? And why is this so important if you actually want it to come into reality?
I'm gonna work reverse on those.
Perfect.
I love this. Okay. This is such a good call because I would have totally just kept going and going and not look at this. See, and this is why when you make these decisions, they are always in full support. So I'm trying to remember what the working backwards was now, but the first piece is let's go with why it's so important. Why is this so important to connect with a vision? What you think about is going to dictate the actions you take, right? So what you believe, what you think about is always, always, always going to dictate your actions. Your belief will dictate your results. I have a reel and I always love recreating this because I'm like, show me your daily thoughts, show me your beliefs, and I'll show you your future bank account. At the end of the day, everything and your life, obviously, but in the line of work that we do, most people are hiring me because they realize they can be making a lot more and they're not, and they're exhausted. So your thoughts and your beliefs will dictate everything, including the speed. So I want to note
Hmm.
that, including the speed,
Hmm.
including the complexity or simplicity, every little aspect. So connecting to something that is in front of you, not behind you, right? You
Mm.
can't create your future focused on your past. So you have to be having something that you can connect with. And that looks different to every single person. And also acknowledging this will change. In the last 2 years, sure, we're heading there. my life has taken a major pivot. And in the moment, it felt like I had to grieve my vision. And I remember talking to like my therapist about it. I remember doing so much energy work around it too, of like, holy shit, like I'm struggling emotionally because of this vision that I held for 3 years, right? Like I connected to that every day. That was so important to me. And like I had built such a magical life for myself. That was what little Candace always wanted.
Mhm.
And it took grieving that and realizing and making peace that's okay that they pivot, right? And really coming to terms with what I just said. What do you want now? What are you doing going forward? Who are you being? What do you want? How do you want that to look? How do you want it to go? And what do you want your day to look like in between it all? What is your dream day today? And so one of the ways that I connect with my vision now, and we actually have an audio course inside of our vault for our clients and our members, and it's called The Perfect Day. And so I
Ooh,
actually, in audio, prompt them on their perfect day. We've got a highest self audio activation. We've
that was
got
fire.
all of the good things, right? And that's what I do is I start at the top of the journal, my perfect day. And before bed or first thing in the morning, I script it all out from the moment my eyes open to the moment I close my eyes. What am I doing? How am I doing it? How am I feeling? What's happening in the home? What kind of support do I have? What am I driving? What am I fueling my body with? What am I thinking? How am I supporting clients? What does that look like? How do I want my day to go? And that will change for the first little while as you do it. And you'll realize, oh, I want to add this, or this feels really aligned, or, that was maybe you're kind of realizing what's ego, what's not. And like, what do you truly want from your heart and your soul? And it shifts a little bit. And then I'll lock it in for a while. And then next thing you know, a lot of those things start taking place because after I've written that, I can't not think about it in the day. I
Yeah.
can't not make my decisions from that place. And your mind will naturally take you there. And it's up to then developing your leadership, which is a lot of the work we do with our clients of doing it when you're scared, doing it when you're uncomfortable, connecting to your self leadership, connecting to who you are while you have that perfect day. Who do you have to be? What are your gaps? And truly beginning to normalize it. And then what was the last one? When I was young, how did I develop that?
Yeah, like
What did
how,
that look like?
so you talked about you went backwards, right? You went with
Yeah.
why it's important, how you do it on
How
a
I
daily
could be.
basis. What about for the people who are like,
Right.
I don't know what the vision is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I would ask yourself, are you unclear because you're consuming so much or because you're not allowing yourself enough stillness? So that exercise,
One more time for the people in the back.
once it's out, Kevin, it's out. You know this. Okay. Are you consuming so much that you are essentially distracting that creative part of your mind, right? And you don't know what's yours or what's theirs? Or are you not allowing yourself enough stillness to actually open your heart, open your mind, open, that little version of you, all that creativity? Like, what do you actually want? And not just what do you want, right? Those are usually come down to a lot of things I notice. How do you want to feel? What do you want your day to look
Mm,
like? And how do you want all of this to go for you? Do you really want it to feel as complicated as it does? Do you really want to continue to believe that? Like you will know as you make note of those things, to me, it's such like a little kick, like slap on the ass, It's like, ooh, like I don't want that.
mhm.
This isn't matching with this. This isn't matching with this. Like I've got some gaps here. And then I tune into my leadership again. Next thing you know, I'm reaching a new level. Oh, Candace has quantum leaped again. What is she doing? That's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing is I'm really staying clear. Who am I? What do I want? Where am I going? How do I want it to go? Who am I being right now? What are the gaps we need to bridge here? And there's so much of you that is developed in that work, and it truly will keep you on track. You'll start to notice, and it's not always overnight, but like, oh, I don't think I'm crazy about my friend group.
Mm,
Or, oh, I outgrew this relationship 7 years ago. Or, oh, like just this job is like really holding me stuck and I'm avoiding going and applying for the job I actually want. Suddenly, I'm like unavailable for this job and I'm going to apply. And you're just really allowing yourself to normalize this new way of seeing yourself, this new way of seeing your life, this new way of seeing how your life gets to go, it could possibly be. And it's up to you to lead your way there.
Absolutely. Wow. So it sounds like a big part of the simplification process is following the correct sequence. It seems like a lot
Mm-hmm.
of people who are overcomplicating their journey to their first 10K, their first 20K, they're out here working with, you can't, if, for those of you listening to the podcast, it's my hands. They're out here working with their hands prior to checking in with their heart,
Mm-hmm.
aligning their thoughts, their brain with their heart's desire, and then taking action from that place. So it's like if you can
Absolutely.
really get to this place where you're in alignment, a word that we use very frequently around here,
Yes.
things are going to go a lot easier. And it sounds like you're saying too, and I'm going to have to show my cousin this one because he's always like, "Oh, I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what I want to do." And it sounds like what you're saying is you know. You
You always
always
know.
know. And it's just a level of distortion between like, well, my parents told me I should want this, and society
Mm-hmm.
told me I should want this, and my friends are all doing this, and da 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 da, that you allow that you allow the noise to crowd out your actual desire. But if you
Yep.
can tap into that stillness, whether it's through journaling, whether it's through meditation, whether it's through visualization, whether it's through walks in nature, et cetera, whatever's best for you,
Yep.
you have to get to this point where you can really feel what it is that you actually want prior to trying to make it happen.
It's yes, 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 yes. Because if you think about even just how much we will distract ourselves. Well, I want
Hmm.
this, but I'm gonna go sit here and numb out on Instagram scrolling because I don't have that yet. I'm not getting the results I want, and therefore I'm numbing out and I'm over consuming, and now I'm stuck in this like fawn state. There's so much that can take place, but the biggest thing I would say is if you think about those, and obviously, like I can say this really clearly because I support a lot of these individuals, a lot of coaches, practitioners, a lot of people in the online space go, I want freedom. I've had enough of this. This whole quit the 9 to 5 era was a big thing for a while. And then it was like, well, shoot, now I need to survive. And now I'm operating from fear and a lack of security. And I'm going to go chase my way somewhere. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I want to get there. I'm like tunnel vision and like just running. I'm running and I don't know where I'm going. And the wheels keep turning and I'm not getting anywhere. And if you actually allowed yourself to slow down for a hot minute and create a solid foundation, an actual structure, and with the clarity that of what you want, how you want to get there, and where you're going, you come to a place of certainty. And you won't act that way if you're certain.
Hmm.
And so it's pretty easy for me to catch that. If a client comes to me, I'm like, okay, well, there's a huge lack of certainty. So we need to like strip this right back. Because as soon as you're certain, it's so easy to move. It's
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
easy to show up. It's so easy to write copy. It's so easy to attract the actual people you want to be working with. It's so easy to restructure your business because you're like, well, hold on. Yeah, I was doing this to survive. I don't need to survive. This is the plan. This is what I'm working on. I'm unavailable for anything else. And you get out of survival in business and you come to a place of actually like nourished success, is what I like to call it. And it changes everything. Everything. Like that is absolutely where simplifying begins. Because you've stepped so far away from what you actually want because you think you need something else to get there.
Yeah, and you put behind you all of the self-sabotage when you really just get out of your own
Own
way
way.
and
Yes.
let go of all those frictions and distortions. The thing that first attracted me to you and your business
Yeah.
was, so first of all, like Sierra brought me into your world, so shout out Sierra.
Yes.
Um, but it was you talked about how business was a tool in this space in this time where everybody was talking about business being the end all be all. I need to make this much money and to work 16 hours a day and devote my entire life to this business. You were talking about business is simply a tool to create a high quality life and fuel this perpetual self-development. And
Mhm.
that changed everything for me. It changed, I was a little baby entrepreneur in those times. I had probably started my business, 2, 3 months prior. And I was like, yo, that's crazy. Like, that's totally different than what everybody's talking about. And since then, it has been exactly as you said, like, business has become the greatest catalyst for personal development in my
Oh,
life that I can possibly imagine. And I look at, it's I'm 31, so it's wedding season big time right now. I'm going to all these weddings of like people that I went to high school with, people I went to college with who, you
love
know,
that.
God bless them. Like, no, this is not, I'm not here to talk shit. Do we swear in this podcast? I'm not here to talk smack
Yeah.
about anybody, but like I see people who end up being the same person year after year
Mm,
after year because there is no a vision for the, like you said, vision for the future that you're grounded into. So you end up falling back into a comfort zone from the past that then
yep.
guides your decisions. And there's no catalyst for growth. There's no, oh, I have clients, so I need to be responsible for them, or I have children, so I need to be responsible for them, or I need to take care of this, that, and the other thing. So, can you talk about how business, maybe in your personal life or in your clients' lives, how it has led to growth and why that level of certainty in who you are is always A, more important than the money that you make, but also like makes you that money?
Yeah. Oh, I love this. First of all, we're gonna pedal backwards. Those that are, I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm like, insert the midlife crises. Like
Hmm.
those that
Hmm.
experience the midlife crisis. Are you really having a midlife crisis, or have you spent your life up until that moment operating out patterns? Right. And now you've reached a point where you're like, hold up, wait, like, what's happening in my life? How am I already 40? Like, where am I
Hmm.
going? What do
Hmm.
I want? And I honestly think that that's where so much of those situations stem from. So to me, I've always found it very motivating. So I'm going to share something that I share with clients on a regular basis. It's also inside our program called The Exception, which is in our vault. And I tell them in this video, and I tell my clients regularly in Voxer, your business, your mission, not even just business, your mission. So whatever your business is, whatever your position is in that business, in your line of work, is your invitation to be living your best life, your invitation to keep your representation on point, your invitation to make sure you are actually meeting yourself and holding yourself responsible and accountable. And those are two super unsexy words that nobody wants to talk about in the coaching space because everybody wants to talk about ease and flow. But my level of responsibility and integrity is how I created a life of ease and simplicity. My level of certainty is how I've been able to create a space of actual mental freedom, right? I'm not waking up and I'm not spiraling about the next launch or the next program I must create. I'm actually fully certain on who I am, what's going on, where my business is, what's needed to happen on a daily basis, where we go. And that changes everything. So let's talk about certainty and how, what was the question? How it's not connected to money, but it also is connected to the amount of money you make.
Yeah, and quick tangent just to hit that point home. It's almost like a like another person, like your higher
Yeah.
self or a brother or a sister or a best friend that you have created that's like, okay, now I have this standard to live up to. And if I
Yep.
let them down, like I'm not letting down against society. I'm not letting down like I'm letting down myself. I'm letting down my inner child, my vision. And you have
Yep.
to just be able to be like, I won't. I cannot.
I
It
cannot.
cannot be this, but I'm certain this. Okay, so the what did I say? Um,
Unavailable. I want to throw that in there too. I'm
yeah.
unavailable for letting myself down anymore. Like that was a tapping I did for a little while too. Like when I was doing my EFT tapping and I would tap on that, right? I forgive myself for sacrificing myself, for neglecting myself, for
Mm,
disappointing myself,
mm.
and allowing yourself to acknowledge and then move forward.
And in terms of simplification too, that is, I mean, that we should, I'm gonna write that down as like, we have to hit that every single episode. Unavailable.
Available.
Because in
Oh yeah,
terms of
we will be.
simplification, it's so much more. And like this is so big in my own personal life. If you guys only knew, you'll get to know me better. But
So excited.
I work hard. I'm super organized. I do a lot. My problem is I do too much. My problem is I don't make enough sacrifices with the parties and the social events and the traveling and the yada, yada, yada. But like really it comes down to what am I available for? And
Mhm.
things that I have over the last, since like 2018 when I started this journey, become completely unavailable for the doubts, the fears, the
Mm,
worries, the creeping anxieties, the self-loathing, all this kind of stuff. And so
that.
it is truly just becoming unavailable for those things. So we'll keep hitting back on this point over and over. What
Over.
we were talking about was your business as the catalyst for self-growth,
Hmm.
as the lock-in anchor for certainty, and
Yes.
how that's more important than the money, but it also like makes the money rain down.
It truly makes the money rain down. Like this is a conversation I will never not have with any client or member because finding your version of your certainty is it's a must. Think about the difference. So I call certainty a posture. Those of you that are listening to the podcast, make sure you go check us out on YouTube. I'm like showing you, you can't see us, go see us because now you're going to be able to view these on YouTube, which is that much more fun. But certainty is a posture. And I always like, I can hear it in a voice note from a client. I can hear it in a message. I can feel it in a caption that they send me for feedback. I can feel it on their Instagram stories, whether they're in their certainty or lacking the certainty. It will change the way you show up and speak. It'll change the way you own what your mission is, the way you own your story, the way you own transformation. It will radically change that. And that's where the money is. Your audience wants to feel secure before they invest. Think about it. They're like seeking security in this next step, regardless of what you're helping them with, regardless of what service or product you're selling. They want to lean on that. So, what's the quickest way to make them feel secure is for you to be secure and for you to attract what you are. So, being very clear on who you are, what you're doing, where you're going, why, you know what I mean, what it means for them so they can achieve what. Making sure that you're locking in on that every day before you show up to your business should actually be a part of your daily method of operations. That to me is a must. That's not something that should be avoided. Whether you're not, if you're not someone who journals, I get lots of these clients as well who are, still absolutely thriving and scaling. Create the voice note, send the voice note to yourself, journal it once a week and create a new voice note for yourself because obviously as you grow, this is going to change. Do something to connect with it. Do something to make sure you are operating from that posture. Because when you're not certain, think about it. Your shoulders are leaning forward, your heart is kind of closed, you're like
Mhm.
moping. Whereas you're certain, you're like, see me, desire me, pay me. It's a completely different energy, right? And if you don't pay me, that's okay because I still know who I am. Like that's not changing. So what I think is so powerful about how it's not connected to the money is that it shouldn't, who you are shouldn't change regardless of what your bank account looks like.
Mhm.
And identifying and connecting with that and knowing that that wouldn't change regardless. That wouldn't change if you had, $200,000 sitting in your bank account or if you had $2 sitting in your bank account. Who you are should not be changing. More so, it's like this knowing that the more you anchor that in, it's kind of inevitable. I'm going to put that
Mhm.
out there. I'm going to say
Mhm.
this. Ballsy move, maybe, but it's pretty inevitable from what I've seen. I've never not witnessed a client actually finally find an anchor into their certainty and not make money, not blow past numbers that they were stuck at, not have the most fun while also still attracting. It's inevitable, but it's taking the time, what we call the slow down to speed up, to actually connect with it, to become really clear. Then to like keep putting her on, keep putting those shoulders back, keep reminding yourself, keep putting your chest out, your chin up, like keep kind of navigating and normalizing that posture, that approach, those thoughts, everything that's connected with it, um, and really see what happens for your life. You stop settling for less. You stop accepting things that you wouldn't actually want to accept. You start to hold your own worth. How you view yourself, how you value yourself, how worthy you find yourself absolutely and radically transforms.
How could it not? I mean, you're like,
Yeah.
certainty is a posture. I'm like,
Just checking in.
but yeah, absolutely. And I love the inevitability of it too. So like we're hitting on
Yeah.
all the keywords here of like certainty,
Mhm.
inevitability. I always think of it like if you if you could see your 10K, 20K, 50K months
Yeah.
as clearly as you can see yourself walking outside and getting the mail,
Yeah.
they're yours. Maybe it takes a little bit longer. Maybe you have to do a couple more actions. Maybe they're actions that you're not as familiar with. But
Yeah.
when you can lock in and be like, it's not a matter of is it going to happen? It's just like I'm just gonna go grab the mail. I'll be
Just trying
right
to get the
back.
mail.
Then it's like it's already yours. So the next keyword I want to hit on here is it's another one that I hear you use all the time that I haven't really heard anybody else use, which is
Okay.
normalization. So I come from an audio background. I'm trying to sprinkle in a little bit of the Kevin Shin biography here. I
Hmm.
went to school for music, studio production. So like acoustics. I worked in a lot of different studios. I worked in the studio where Shaquille O'Neal recorded his platinum record.
Love
Shouts out.
this.
Fun fact about me.
Yeah.
But in music, in audio, normalization means to reduce the volume peaks and raise the volume valleys, right? So everything is like the same.
Hmm.
So when I heard you say the word, I was like, that can't possibly be what you means, right? And for you, I think it's completely different, right? It isn't about, creating a mathematical average of what other people think is normal. It's familiarizing in your nervous system what you want to be true, right? So can you tell us more
Yeah.
about that?
Hmm. So the whole reason a lot of people won't get what they want is because they won't take the time to actually normalize it into their beliefs, into their nervous system, and then into their daily actions. So we actually have a whole audio series called the Normalizing Audio Tracks. It's like a 5-day audio tracks that clients can listen to every day of the week and then go back to the beginning again and again, right? Because it's a must. I love like the little Zoom thumbs up that pop up nowadays. So normalizing to me is that process. So we know what we want, we know where we are. And we have to find those gaps, which is like day one of the audio, recognizing your gaps, becoming crystal clear with them. And then it's all about, okay, well, what's needed to be that person? What do you have to think? What do you have to do? What do you have to change? What do you have to let go of? See, this isn't about adding more. And now we go through a process of actually anchoring that in and having that become our normal, our way of going and getting the mail, our way of, unlocking the car before you get in it. It's
Hmm.
just normal. That's just what you do. You empty the dishwasher before you reload it. That's just what you do. That's normal. You wake up, you put some sort of clothing on. That's just what you do, right? These beliefs, that's just what you think. These actions, that's just what you do. These outcomes, that's just real life, right? Like that's
Hmm.
completely normal
Hmm.
to accept, 5-figure payments. Like that's just normal. And it kind of came to me of like, well, this reality you want isn't normal to you. So therefore you're sabotaging, you're distracting, you're avoiding, you're numbing, you're doing anything you can to avoid the discomfort of what you don't yet know. And that's when I was like, we need to normalize this. We need to start normalizing unrealistic. We need to start making unrealistic the everyday, the normal. Um, Big things, big dreams, big visions. Make that normal. Make it normal. The quickest way to make it normal, repetition.
Hmm.
Repetition is a mother skill. Like you want to support your body in hearing these things, thinking these things, reading these things, visualizing these things as much as you humanly can when I'm driving, when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm folding laundry, when I'm journaling before I go to bed, when I'm out for my walks, any little window of opportunity to think about what I would be doing at my next level, to think about what this means for me, what this means for my kids, what I want, how I want it. Give yourself these windows to normalize what is not yet normal for you. Because when it's normal, you're going to get the mail, and you're unlocking the car before you get in it. That's just naturally going to start trickling in. These thoughts are going to take over. These beliefs are going to take over. These actions are going to take over.
Hell yeah. Sometimes I feel like we forget that we're just like a collection of patterns and like
Yes.
energy waves that are just vibrating at a certain frequency that we set with ourselves, and then we're almost like we obey them. But it's like you said, it all starts with the thoughts, it all starts with the beliefs. I had to write this one down
Yeah.
because I thought this was absolutely brilliant. You said this reality wasn't normal for you. And that's
Yeah.
why the self-sabotage crept in. So I always told my clients, like, you self-sabotage when what you want and what you believe you can have are different. If you feel like you're not worthy of
Yeah.
it, if you feel like you don't deserve it, then it's like you're gonna find a way to screw it up for yourself. And so
Mhm.
I love the way that you put it. The reality wasn't normal for you. And so you just have to make it normal through the
Make it normal.
visualization, through the repetition, through the journaling, et cetera, et
Hmm.
cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that's awesome.
And draw the line. I'm doing a reel on pretend deciding. And
Did you say
so
pretend
often,
deciding? What does that mean?
yeah. Like, stop, pretend, decide. I did a story, I don't know, I did a talking story a few weeks ago, and so many people were like, can we have more of this? And I'm just like, that's how many of us are doing this. Okay. So pretend deciding. Oh my gosh, I'll get the DM of like, I so want 40K months. I'm like,
Mhm.
amazing. Like, what are you doing about that? Like, how's that going for you? What's that look like? They're usually reaching out for support. What would you like to make happen? But it's a pretend deciding because it's like, well, I want 40K months, but like, oh, like I have to master, oh my goodness, my messaging. Like, ooh, okay, I'm gonna go back over here. Oh, I have to like work on my money mindset and forgive my parents and give back the beliefs that they created for me. Like, ooh, I don't want to do that. Okay. Whereas there's then deciding, I'm the person that has 40K months and it's completely normal for me and I'm unavailable for anything else. Oh, we have to go there. Let's go there. Oh, we have to master this. Let's do it. Oh, we have to, okay, how? Right? And they're asking questions and they're allowing leadership to come in and they're developing themselves and they're actually normalizing that reality because they decided. But all too often, we pretend decide. We decide
Mhm.
something, but we don't see it through. We decide something, but then we pull back, right? We go back to comfort, back to what feels safe, even though it's likely not creating safety in itself. So I think that that's a really big piece to the whole puzzle of freedom is when you make a decision, it's up to you to see that through and act on that decision really responsibly. And I do think that that's a big part in what we play as mentors, as coaches, as practitioners. It doesn't matter what line of work you're in, what industry you're in, what niche you're in, because when somebody comes to you for support or help, it's because they're deciding.
Mhm.
And you get to then help them go to that place, right? Create that reality, get those results, heal those things, like whatever is happening. You get to kind of be there for that and really help them to be firm in that decision.
And whatever needs to happen will happen. Like as you say all that, and that's
Yeah.
I love the way you said like pretend decisions. It's like that's going to be a new trend for sure. But like I think of, winners see solutions or they see opportunities and losers see obstacles. And when I say winners and losers, there's no like moral judgment here.
No.
It's like literally like the people who win at games, at life, at accomplishing their goals versus the people who lose at hiding and making excuses. That's the difference. And so like
Yeah.
what you're saying is like, again, losers, air quotes, losers are going to make these pretend decisions where they say they want something, but they're not willing to do the work internally or externally in order to achieve it. Whereas winners are going to be like, I'm making an actual decision and everything else fades away. I'm unavailable for anything else. Any other outcome where this isn't the reality that's occurring for me, it no longer exists. And so, whatever needs to be done, whether it's the healing, whether it's the inner work, whether it's the mastering the messaging, whether it's the putting out more content, putting out better content, whatever it is, it's gonna happen, period.
Yeah.
And then, as I said before, it's just like getting the mail. It's just like unlocking the car. You're already there. You're already going.
You're doing it. Yeah, it's so true. I love that. That was like the line in the sand moment for me that actually changed my entire life, right? I reached a point, and I've shared this story
Yeah,
so
what
many
happened? What
times.
what was what was the moment?
I spent months stuck. I got my business back to like, baby Candace online. So the coach version of Candace. And I grew my business to, I think it was like roughly 150K a year. And I hated it. I resented it. I was burned out. I was exhausted. I was doing all the like bro marketing, operating from my masculine. I had a baby on my hip, a toddler at home. Like I was fucking exhausted. Like done. Like this can't be how you run an online coaching business. I know for a fact there's so many other ways I could be getting my clients results. Why am I doing it this way? And it was just my aha moment that I had been outsourcing so much of my power to what I was being taught instead of, and at the moment I didn't realize I was a projector. I didn't realize the whole human design thing, what I was here to do. And I was like, there's such simpler ways to be going about this. And my line in the sand moment was I was stuck, 13K months, let's average it. I couldn't get beyond it. We knew we had made a goal that we were going to be retiring Brian, which was my spouse at the time, my children's father. And we had made all these goals. And I'm like, how am I going to make that happen when I have nothing left to give, right? My days were spent on back-to-back calls. It was a lot of output for what felt like at the time because 13K became very normal, little return, right? I'm like, I want so much more than this. This is ridiculous. This is pennies compared to what I know I'm ready for. And I was like, that's it. I drew the line. I'm unavailable. I'm unavailable for anything less than 30K a month. I'm unavailable for this, that, the next thing. And within, I think it was 27 days, I had my first 32K month. And that involved, though, think about it. I had to let go of 3 containers that I was running. I had to start saying goodbye to private clients that were no longer aligned with my future going forward, like my vision. I had to get over my fears and work through more money mindset and more wealth energetics to increase my prices, to set firm business boundaries. That's when I went from working, 7, 8 hours a day to 1 to 3 hours a day. That's when this was the season where everything in my business evolved, but I also made a very, very scary multiple 5-figure pay in full investment because that's
Mm.
all this mentor that I was really admiring accepted was painful at the time. And this is why mentorship is key, but not just mentorship. I have a whole podcast episode on this, like what to look for in mentorship, because maybe I'm not your person and that's cool. You want to hire somebody who's done what you want to do, but in a way that you align
Yeah,
with.
totally.
And that was where I was falling short, right? So making that really scary investment at the time and letting go of so many things that weren't serving me, but yet I sat there with like, holy shoot, like I'm risking a lot right now, paid off more than anything ever could. So much of who I am was developed yet again in that season. And
Mm.
then yet again when we cross 40K and 70K months, right? Like you continue to normalize new ways of thinking and being and leading yourself, but there's always a risk before the win. There's always that stretch. There's always something that will take place. And usually we know what we want, but we'll kind of avoid it, right? We pretend to decide. And it took me being like, no, like I already know this decision is going to support me. I already know this investment is going to teach me what I don't yet know. I already know. I already knew I was unavailable for any other outcome. And drawing those lines, you can't look back. And when you catch yourself doing it, catch yourself, fix your posture, and keep moving.
Catch yourself, fix your posture, keep moving. Love it. Absolutely love it. Talk to us about, so it sounds like the normalization process as we've broken down this sequence a little bit, it's like it goes number one, heart, number two, brain, number three, hands or actions or whatever.
Action.
So it sounds like the normalization process is paramount around feelings, right? Like, yes, the way that we think and believe is going to come from there, and the actions that we take and the daily rituals, the habits are going to stem from that. But it all starts with the feeling, right? So talk to us about the difference in feeling between that state of burnout and the state of financial freedom. Like what does burnout feel like? And if you're in this place now, then hopefully you can resonate with this. But then what does the freedom feel like so that anybody watching this who's feeling like, oh fuck, I am stuck in this feeling of burnout right now. I have normalized burnout. I have normalized not enough. What do I need to shift my focus to so that I can normalize abundance and more than enough? And I motherfucking got this. Did we say we're
Yeah.
swearing on this one?
Yeah.
We're cool.
The show, Kevin, is called The Soulful Rich Bitch.
That's true. That's fair.
Oh, I try and be cautious because I do know that there's moms listening with little. So if any of this ever makes it difficult for you, we do apologize. So with that being said, or like we're on your TV because now we're on YouTube. Anyways, I would say if you have normalized a place of operating from burnout, it's time to ask yourself what you actually want to feel on a daily basis. And that's going to seem so, well, what's that going to do? No, like actually stop, get yourself out of this intense fight or flight state and just grab a notebook, grab a journal, grab a sticky note even, and bullet point it out. How do you want to feel on a daily basis? What do you want your days to look like? How do you want your days to go? What is that going to do for you? What is that going to do for your future? Maybe you have children, for the future of your impact, for the future of your mission. What are you going to do once you pull back so much of your energy and you restore yourself, right? And you come back to a baseline that you're content with so you can overflow. So you can not just overflow, but receive overflow. You know, it's going to take the slow down to speed up. And as long as you don't frame this as, oh my gosh, I have to give it up, or oh my gosh, I have to be extreme and burn it to the ground. No, slow down, recenter, restructure, learn what you don't yet know, and speed the hell up. And you're going to notice it happens really simply, really efficiently when you've slowed down first and done these things. Really connecting with how you want to feel is going to help you make much different decisions. Right. This decision I was doing kept leading me to feeling like this, and I want to feel like this. So what do I have to do to feel like this? Right. This is how I have to lead myself. And it's just stopping before you do anything to check in. Where am I acting from? Survival, burnout self, or wealthy self? Where am I acting from? Who am I being in this moment? And just catching that. I do this in motherhood even. Am I being calm and patient mom right now, or am I being, overwhelmed mom? Like who am I being? Who do I want to be? And that's why I love, and I know I said this at the beginning of the episode, that hour before I pick my kids up for myself is a must.
Hmm.
That's a non-negotiable because I want to be a quality, calm, present, nourished mother for my children. That's what they deserve. That's a non-negotiable. I'm unavailable for anything else for them. I choose to set that standard. And so you get to choose to set the standards throughout your entire life. It doesn't just have to be in business. Like take this into every area of your life. You get to do these things, but stop for a second and connect. And sometimes it's a little bit of a gut punch. You're like, oh, I'm like super not happy with how I was operating and running my show, so to speak. But take that as an opportunity to forgive yourself. I allow myself to forgive myself for X. I allow myself to forgive myself for believing I had to X. Allow forgiveness, allow compassion, and then recenter. Who am I being going forward? And just commit to that.
You know what else you're a master of beyond money energetics?
What is this?
Commas.
Would it
Slow down,
come?
slow down, restructure, keep
Oh,
going. Like always, I'm like on the edge of my seat. I'm like, what's coming next? So good, so good. Let's, I mean, you're doing it again. You come out the gate so strong and it's just boom, 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 boom. I'm like, all right, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Let's break these down.
okay.
Okay, cool. So non-negotiables,
Mm-hmm.
right? We need to know what the whole concept is because some of us, and I can definitely think of times in my life where I've been this way, we're not even operating with a level of awareness where we have these boundaries. Like we're not even in a place that's like, oh, I
Mm,
get to decide that I'm not available for that. So tell
yeah.
us about like the concept of non-negotiables, maybe like a point in your life where it became such a must that you had to learn this lesson. And then
Yeah.
some of the non-negotiables that you have in your life and business now that fuel it so well.
I like this. I feel unprepared for this question, but I'm here for it. I'm going to say anywhere that you feel unsettled. Where do you feel unsettled? Where do you feel like you desire more or different? Sometimes it's not more. Sometimes it's I just desire different. Maybe you desire a level of softness where it's felt really rough and tough. Maybe you desire something and or you want something or you value something and that simply to me my values became non-negotiables.
Mm,
So that meant having boundaries in certain areas that I didn't once have. That meant upgrading my belief system, upgrading my identity in areas, who I am as a mother, who I am as a mentor, who I am as a CEO, who I am as a single woman, who I am as a daughter, a future partner, like anything. But connect with your values first and ask yourself, what are your non-negotiables going forward? Again, this isn't about looking back and what's gotten you here. It's like, what do I value going forward? So what are my non-negotiables to match that? And that's where a lot of my boundaries came into play. That's where, my daily structure came into play. That's where how I view myself and nourish myself came into play. How I parent, the decisions I make for my kids and for their future, everything came into play once I established clarity. around those.
She's like, oh, I don't know if I'm prepared. Drops bombs.
And that's why we have Kevin here with us today and going forward.
Okay, so the values are the identity, are the non-negotiables. And so it's about taking it from this level of like, oh, okay, that's a value. I like to recycle into this identity of like, I am this person who recycles, into this non-negotiable of like, no matter what happens, that plastic is not going in the garbage can. Obviously, extend this recycling metaphor into your own life. But
Love your
okay, so
metaphor.
that's kind of like the boundary line of the non-negotiables. Talk to us about another quote that I'm kind of paraphrasing a little bit just to simplify, but you always talk about like, I get to do these things. And I think in the exact same way as I just spoke about, a lot of people are like, well, fuck, do I really get to decide that that's not for me? It's like a lot of times people don't really understand that they actually get to decide what is for them just as well. And so does that work in just the opposite way, the values, identity, non-negotiables, or is there like a different process in understanding like this is the new me?
I think it's more of that deciding again. It comes back to making that firm decision of if this is the new you, decide it. And what are you going to do about it? And are you going to be intentional and responsible about that decision? Because if you're not, and you're already like, ooh, I want to say this, but I'm not sure. Like, I already know you're going to pretend decide. So
Mhm.
do the work of just becoming more clear. Journal every day. What do I want? Why do I want it? What will it mean for me in X area, whatever area that you're kind of working on this? But that's a big piece. Get yourself to a place where you know exactly what you want, why you want it, what it's going to feel like, and decide. Because we can wake up today and have a completely new reality today than we did yesterday by simply deciding different things, being a different level of ourselves, being a different version of ourselves, thinking different thoughts. Um, it's so simple, even just to bring it down to this example of when you're having a good day, what are you thinking about?
Mhm.
Right? What are the beliefs running through your mind? What are you excited about? How are you walking? How are you dressing? How are you talking? Versus a day where you feel like, you're having a crumble moment and your world's falling apart or things aren't going the way you want or you're exhausted, you feel defeated. Okay, well, what are you choosing to do on those days? And what are you thinking on those days? And what are you, repeating in your mind on those days? Are you repeating how exhausted you are, or are you doing something to replenish yourself?
So it's kind of just regrounding into yourself because we all know what it feels like to have a good day. So you don't have to
Yes.
fabricate this from nothing. It's just you come
Yes.
back to that and then tip the scale in that favor over and over and over and not give the attention, not give the focus, not give the energy to those
Mhm.
negative thoughts, to those negative feelings, to the stuff that's moving you out of alignment with your goal. There she is again
You
with
can
with the
choose. You
with
can
the
choose those
calmness.
identities. Yes. You can choose current, burned out, tired, exhausted, insert blank identity that you're walking away from, or you can choose higher, wealthier, more free, insert again X of what you want to be identity. Um, and you can, stop yourself and start to become familiar and conscious of who am I being in this moment? Who do I want to be? Right? What would I be doing? What would I say instead? This was huge in my parenting journey in the last few years as Braden was becoming a small man. Hey, Candace, what kind of mother are you being today? What do you want him to hear? What do you want to say? Slow down, speed up. Um, it's so much about just our overall awareness.
Totally. And yeah, there's the calmness again as always. What do I want? Why do I want it? What does it mean to me? Just running them off, just boom, 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 boom. Okay, cool. What about, and so this is I'm still just digging up. I'm taking the little notes here. I'm still just digging up nuggets from stuff that you said 10 minutes ago.
I love it.
Forgiveness.
Yes.
Forgiveness, forgiveness, forgiveness. Talk about unsexy words that we don't want to think about. Talk to us about how forgiveness has played a role in your personal growth and the growth of your business.
Oh my gosh, so much. So the season of drawing the line in the sand, this is a really big one. I got back like over 60% of my time. Yet I was making, over triple and then four times and five, like a tremendous more amount of money. And I told myself that the whole reason I did that was for quality of life, quality of being, quality of experience. And that meant I had to go beneath the surface. I was like, I'm going to use this time to heal parts of me that I haven't yet. I'm going to use this time to go back to focusing on my gut health. Like those of you that
Mm.
know, I came online in the nutrition space for a hot minute, quickly realized that I love nutrition, wellness, quality of life, holistic approaches for myself and my family. I don't love teaching or babysitting those that, are pretend deciding. Business was my whole
That's
life.
how I feel about business.
See, right? And so when you said that, I was like, I feel him. Business had been my whole adult life, and it just made sense to continue. So here I am. Anyways, um, it came down to using that time though that I got back to ask what I needed to do. So I went holistically through everything, right? Who am I being? What needs to heal? What do I need to let go of? I was having some liver stagnation issues. So then I was like, okay, we need to like focus on some anger releasing, some
Mm.
just overall forgiveness, resentment, anything that I was holding on to. There were so many things, healing my mother and father wounds, like really going into my trauma, really just allowing myself to see that trauma. Like there was so much to that season. And so that was the season of forgiveness for me. Um, forgiving my mom for certain aspects or beliefs that were passed down and forgiving other people that had passed down beliefs or shoulds, right? That's another big one. Letting go of everything that was not mine, not that I identified that I knew came from a certain situation, fears that I had that weren't mine, and giving them back to the owner, not physically. Writing letter that we can turn that into a whole episode one time because I feel like everyone would find this really fascinating, but giving that back to them consciously and like writing a letter, giving that back, coming back to what I am, what I know to be true, what I wanted to be true for me, and then allowing myself to forgive myself for holding those beliefs,
Mm.
allow myself to forgive myself for placing those shoulds and that pressure on myself that wasn't needed to have what I want or to be who I am or be who I want to be. And just spending time truly actually forgiving myself. This looked like a ton of journaling, a ton of visualization and meditation, like picturing those going back to the owner, and a lot of EFT tapping. I really love tapping and I
Totally.
love journaling. Two of probably my most favorite modalities and two things that I'm constantly supporting clients with too. Forgiving, past versions of myself, things I wasn't proud of, going to, places of shame, places of guilt, motherhood guilt, there we go, was hugely weighing on my gut health, along with like some resentment and things like that. So I used that season to really forgive, and have compassion. And in that same season, I healed so many chronic issues that I was dealing with behind the scenes. I created a healthy balance with the relationship with my mother and my father. And I started to really develop myself as a conscious mother, as a leader, as a human being. I really developed communication skills, self leadership, self responsibility, and staying aware of my patterns. So it was just more of like a trickle effect. Once you start to see other areas. And as long as you're willing to bring the awareness with you into those areas, it just keeps unfolding. There's
That's
things to this
beautiful.
day,
Things
I'm still
today that you're still
forgiving.
forgiving.
Like that come up and it's like, okay, I want to forgive myself for this, or forgive myself for even allowing that, a dating situation or something where you're like, oh my gosh, why did I put myself through that? And it's like, it's okay. Like there was a reason. And I forgive myself for putting any shame, guilt, or pressure on myself around it. And instead, I'm extracting the lessons. And it's just even that reminder and allowing yourself to give yourself the love, the space, the compassion, the softness that you need to then walk away from that situation and continue to move forward in the direction you want to. There's no victimhood needed. There's no like blame game needed. No pointing the finger needed. Like extract what's yours. Take your level of like your responsibility for that part. Just keep moving.
Just keep moving. And even like I forgive myself for allowing myself to believe
Mm-hmm.
blank. Like that was a journal prompt that you gave me like
Yes.
2 years ago that I was like, I'm allowed to do it. I'm allowed to just let it go like that. Like, what? So that was amazing. And thank you, as always, for everything that you've helped me with.
Yes. Oh, it's honest. I just love it. It's always so fun to watch and see what happens when we're letting go and choosing a new way, a new reality, new beliefs. So
Perfect.
wicked.
Cheers to new reality. Cheers to new beliefs. I think that that'll about wrap it up for today. We're pretty much getting here on time.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you guys for listening. I want to know though, for those of you that are watching, listening, DM either of us, honestly, but I would love to hear it selfishly. I want to know, what did you prefer? Do you love being able to see us? Do you love being able to watch me spill my water on myself or sip my coffee? Because both of those things happened. Do you love hearing us in your ears? Are you loving the conversation? Are you loving what we're both bringing to you? Let us know. Give us feedback. There's going to be plenty more coming. And I'm so excited. Kevin, thank you for your role that you play in Candice Co., for what you bring to the table, for being the efficiency king.